Today we're going to go over how I remade last year, and it's going to sound like this. Alright people, my name is Valentine. I'm going to break down and go through how I remade Last Year by Bryant into a West Coast type beat. This is one of my favourite songs of 2025, and even before hearing this I knew just the song and the entire album was going to hit, and while hearing it I was feeling it inside, so I knew it was going to hit. But the big question is why? What's making this song so special? And even though the production sounds simple, I can assure you it's definitely not. So this song was produced by Bryant and Jeff Gitleman, two amazing musicians in their own right, with Jeff doing some amazing work with Mac Miller, Beyonce and The Weeknd. Now, Jeff has used so many small techniques to make this song stand out and resonate with the listener, and today I'm going to take you through those techniques and show you how to use them in your own music to take them from average to pro. First things first, this song is already sad as hell. Super ambient, super spacey, kind of feels like you're floating but also not in a good way. So obviously, I had to ruin that. So I just dragged it into a door and sat there for a second. Because sometimes you don't start by doing anything, you just listen. And the main thing that stood out to me was the texture. It's not loud, it's not aggressive, it's just there. So whatever I did, I knew I had to keep that feeling. But, flip the environment around a little bit. And to do that, I'm gonna add some West Coast drums. And if you know anything about making West Coast beats, it's not about hitting hard, it's about the bounce. So I kept the drums simple, but not so simple. Now, not all of these sounds can be found natively in Logic Pro, but I definitely recommend looking at Cymatic's large library of sample packs and drum one-shots, because this is something I use a lot in this song. Specifically, the Bunny Hip Hop sample pack. That one. That's what you get all the snares from. And again, this video is not sponsored, so this is my honest recommendation if you want to lay your drums out like this. So, one of these is your regular like deep, lo-fi, that thump. I don't want to keep it as thumpy, so I added something that was a little bit more high-end and acoustic, and I just filtered that out. If you listen. Can you hear that? Still got that punch, but... And then during this little chorus, there's a break section, and that just goes along with the more acousticness. Now, the snares, this was probably one of the hardest parts because there is quite a few. The first one is a lo-fi snare, so you got then a dry snare, then a thin snare, bit of reverb on it, claps, and then paired with the kick. So you're already establishing that bounce. And then this is the pre-chorus section that I was talking about. Could be a little bit more breathable, right? So out of all of this, there are a lot of hi-hats and perks. And I mean a lot. A lot of cowbells, a lot of bongos. So I'm going to try my best to go through each one of them. Okay, let's go. This is a clav. Pretty self-explanatory. Then we got a cowbell every... Wait, there it is. Tambourine, that's also going along with the snare, but I'm not sure if that's in this part or a different one. There we go, it's in the chorus. Whoops. Then we got another tambourine, which I'm pretty sure is also in the chorus. Yeah, your common crash. Now with this, I kind of got rid of the attack, and that's not to make it so hard hitting, it's to more make it sweep, and that will go quite well with the shakers as well. Now these hats are just, I'm going to put them all together. Obviously, different velocities for all of them, different sounds as well. But if you hear it, it sounds very natural. Now I've got these open hats. Which are simple, but they add so much to the song. Now, along with these hi-hats, I also have some shakers, which they're just 3 tracks, but if you listen to it, and that is just the perks. And as you can tell, the swing is just everything. I mean, listen to it. Like, if it's too perfect, it's just wrong. Now, I didn't want this to be too boom bap or punchy, so I added a few shakers to make the song feel like it's breathing and kind of add into that natural atmosphere. And to do that, I nudged things a little bit off that 4/4 grid, just slightly. Now it feels like it's breathing. One last thing. There are some bongos and toms, and I'm sorry. It does sound like a crime to put these in a West Coast type beat, but if you listen to it, it's a little bit of... It's subtle, but it adds a lot to the actual beat. So if you listen to all of this together, you get yourself a very, very unique and cool beat. So if we listen to this, and that is just a little bit unique, but it adds so much to the song. Now, for all of these drums, I have mixed them with their own specific things. For the kicks, the toms and the bongos, anything that is around that 200 to 400 hertz range. On this bus, I've got a ZL equalizer 2, which is taking out that 2000 hertz range, and I might as well take out this bit here as well, just to give it a little bit less interference with the high end. And this is something I had in my last beat, which is Cymatics Diablo. This plugin is great for adding both, obviously, punch and a bit of clipping to these drums, and it doesn't just saturate it in a way, and I'll show you by playing these things. So that's with it on. This is off. Off. On. Now, I've got the same Cymatics Diablo light on a snap bus, which is routed to, I believe, the snares. Anything that can give that snapping, clapping, that hitting, it's in this, which has no punch, but a little bit of clip. And I took away the punch because why would you want a clap to punch? That's... Now, something that's really cool that I found out is this is Crystal Dynamics K-Field compressor and a clipper, I believe. And this, basically, see how just packs it in more tightly without raising the volume, as I once said. With the equalizer taking out that low end, just making sure that it's not interfering with anything that's below 200 Hz. Now, all of these are then routed through a drum bus. If I can find it, it is here, which has Carve Audio's Busboy, which is its own compressor and limiter. That also packs all of the drums together without making them sound too much or interfere with each other. And we also have Magic 7. Now, this reverb plugin is a simulation of another very popular and somewhat expensive one, so I've kind of beat the system here. But all this is drum plate preset, 1.35 seconds, simple, but it makes a big difference. So if I go and solo these drums real quick, that is with the thing on. This is without it. Put it on. Turn it off. Back on. So it's subtle. Again, you don't want to be doing too much with these sorts of drums because you want to keep them natural, you want to keep them organic, but also putting them in one specific space and not letting them escape into everywhere else in the song. That is what you need to do. Next is the bass. And you already know it had to be a smooth, glidey 808. It's in every single song. So the bass in this song is definitely the most simple thing ever. The sub bass I'm using is something from Tyrell N6. Now if I go to this right here, I have the bass here. If I turn this on, go all the way back up, and solo it, it's definitely deep, but it's, as I said, not aggressive and just a little bit foundation. So obviously this sub is nothing aggressive, it just rides under everything as some sort of foundation, like it's holding the entire track together without asking for attention. But the attention seeking is in this part of the bass right here. Now this right here is something I love to brag about because this plugin is so good. This is Vital. Now I'm sure anyone knows what this plugin is, and it's basically Serum if it didn't take the Super Soldier Serum. It's practically a watered down version of Serum, but this is definitely still a heavily underrated synthesizer. So this is, yet again, a preset that I've also modified so that the envelope has a little bit less release. So it's kind of growling. That, well, the reason why I cut down on the release is just to keep it in type with the song. But to solo this, so it kind of gives the bass some dynamic instead of just being pure sub 4 notes. Here's the drums and the bass with each other. Just listen to that. Okay, so now we have a solid foundation. Let's go through what actually carries this song. Why has my camera gone so dark? This is so strange. Dude. I'm gonna just fix it like this now, because what in the hell? And this took me a long while to find since it is quite abstract, but this is what it sounds like. Some chords on a separate track. Then these low bass notes. At the start of this song, this is something I recently added, is basically I took these chords, this section right here, this little bit, and I split it, bounced it in a different track. Then I added a very long-tailed reverb, which is this. Then I reversed it. All that acts as is a swell into the start of the song. So if you listen closely. Which, it could just be silent for the first half of the song, but I didn't want that. So definitely pick that up as some sort of decent skill, because a lot of artists want you to do that with their vocals. A lot of other producers love using this because it's just a way to give a little bit of texture to the song without going in a sample pack and picking up a riser, because no one does that anymore. Come on, it's 2026. I decided that combining this with the chords in the bass and then separating it into 3 tracks was the best route possible, since this melody is played with a synth, and I can't have that same synth playing the chords and the lower notes. It doesn't work like that. Now on top of this, I also added some strings and airways. That is what it's called. It's just called airways. Now this was just to give the song some breath and keep it moody while sounding fresh and fluid at the same time. With all of these things right here, I've added some stock things from Logic, and specifically they are the Dusty Strings and Airways preset. These two by themselves are definitely really good. Like, incredibly good. Gonna pan them left and right to give the song a little bit more space. I'm not sure why I had it panned that way. Don't ask. Now, to accompany all of this, and to further dive into that deep, moody atmosphere, I played some guitar, and I added a crap ton of reverb. Sounds dumb, but listen out. And for that guitar I was speaking about, this is something that I recorded and just put a ton of reverb onto. And specifically I used Valhalla's supermassive reverb plugin and then bounced it so that I could keep that reverb tail without it ending or anything like that, so I could just mix it as it is. But with the guitars it sounds like this. That is probably the best type of texture you can add to any sort of song, even if you're making something that doesn't necessarily use guitar. You can take any sort of stringed instrument and make it sound like this without the use of any insane plugins. You can just use free ones and get this same sound. At this point, it sounded good, but not different, so I added a synth lead, something a little high-pitched, almost whiny but nostalgic. Now, one of the small techniques that Jeff used in this song is the use of multiple synths to create a raw, dark atmosphere, like an old West Coast record but filtered through this modern, sad soundscape. Now, stick with me here because there are a lot of synths in here. If I go for these, what I use for this is ESW vinyl guitar. Basically, it's a guitar emulation, but it's a lot more lo-fi. So if you can hear it, I've got them panned left and right, and it's more of a call and response. That's all it is. But then, if you pack that in with this right here, which is that semi-high pitched but still low enough to stay in that mood. Pair it with this, which is panned in the opposite direction, and you have something that is. Then you get some of this. This fresh air. This is great. Now, if we move to this part right here, this is where it all kind of picks up. There's that analog brass I found in the Tyro N6 synthesizer, which definitely has the attack you need, but without having too much transient, if you get what I'm trying to say. And for my final touch during this pre-chorus, I wanted to keep it different from the rest of the song instrumentally, but keeping the same vibe. So what could be different from synths and percussion instruments? An orchestra. an orchestra. So, for this next part, I was a little bit reckless and decided, yeah, orchestra is the way to go. I'm kind of blocking it. Let's see if I can move myself over here. Let's move myself over here. So, we've got this orchestra right here, which altogether, it sounds like this. Separately, you've got a cello, but just playing the bass notes. Another one. High violin that's panned to the left. One that's panned center. One that's giving them accent notes, but you can barely hear it. Then, put them together. Now, this part right here, the reason you can hear so much bass is because of this thing right here. That, while sounding quite loud with all of it, just gives it a little bit of texture. Now, I didn't want to take this too far aboard, but I definitely got a tiny bit of inspiration for that brass from the God of War game series, because I love listening to that soundtrack. It's absolutely amazing. But I'm not sponsored by Sony. Anyway, now here's one big tip if you're struggling to see if everything's in its right place, and that is mute everything. And I mean mute everything, all of it. Get it gone, and then bring each track in bit by bit, because arrangement is where the beat actually becomes a story. Now, as I said, you really, really want to mute everything and just bring it all back bit by bit. So let me undo that so that we got this. Now let's bring this in. So you think, cool, where does the bass fit in? That's great, that fits. Now the synth. That also fits in really well. Then why not the ambience? Cool. Drums. Now, what you really want is to hear this little pre-chorus right here. Let everything drop out, and it's just the ambient instruments, and then that melody still there. Build up a little bit. And then there's that heavy drop. So the intro is just a melody, same as the last song, and then the drums come in, then the bass, and in the pre-chorus everything drops out, and then you get this heavy hit, the drop where everything else comes back in, and there's that breathing, that fluidity, that atmosphere, and it's all in one. But you can pick it apart separately and vibe to each bit as its own piece of music. And that's the important part. You have to give space, otherwise nothing hits. So, these little keys right here, what I did use is Splice's originally Spitfire Audio sound library. This is a great plugin simply because you've got all of this customizability. You can down tune it, up tune it, add some modulation, change the dynamics. It has its own built-in reverb. For some reason I have to update my Splice, but we move. Who really updates these things? By itself. So this pure sub right here, this is the Tyrell N6. Now, this is also a preset because I cannot be bothered to make these simple sounds from scratch. They're always built into these things. This is literally one of my favorites though. One, simply because of the amount of presets this thing has. It's got way too many. Now, this is ESW Vinyl Guitar. A very cool looking plugin, I can tell you that. It's also got some really cool presets as well, if it just lets me. It's also got a built-in EQ. It's got a transient mixer, which I don't use. You can have string buzz. This is transient part, right? A width, then you got tone. The width can be changed, but I just prefer to use a direction mixer. An exciter, which is its own saturation. And then yeah, this, I definitely recommend this for people who like making sort of indie-ish pop music. Definitely a good recommendation, and it's free. This right here, this is definitely something that I've picked up from Andrew Luce, a producer who makes a lot of Bryant Barnes' songs. This is Dixon Beats OS251, the one I mistakenly said was the piano one. I was wrong. This has a lot, not a lot, but quite a few features. It's got some really good presets, some really good customization. Sorry, my mouse moved. And, well, if you want to hear what it sounds like. That's it. That's it. Just playing those notes right there. And then with this is that DB1 plugin where you've got that but yeah, a very, very, very good plugin. Now, this is also another vital preset, I believe. Which plays the notes of the song's lyrics, which I wanted to add this into it because one, I'm not recording vocals, and two, just to keep that vibe of the song so it's not too different. Now, these dusty strings and airways are a preset in Alchemy, but they're also in Logic's section right here. But this, if I solo it, and then you've got the airways, which is Sculpture instead. This is old, but if you listen to it, can you hear that sort of vinylish crackle in the background, like it's popping bubbles? This is really good for adding that sort of texture into something that you want to keep fluid. You can hear it in the background now. This orchestra section right here is the works of BBC Symphony Orchestra. This is also a somewhat old plugin. It's been around for quite a few years now. I've had this for a long time. And this is basically your own little orchestra right here. I mean, it's got the layout here. It's pretty self-explanatory. You got your piano, your violin, 1, 2, violas, your cello, however you say that, basses. It's just it sets everything out. You got your own little pizzicato, spiccato settings, which you can. It's fully customizable. Honestly, I could not explain this in a good enough detail where you can get what I mean. But if you listen to it, I mean, what more do I need to say? These guitars, I've got a EQ which cuts out the low end and boosts that 1,000 to 3,000, well, 1,200 range. We've got an amp which pretty much does the same thing. Cuts down on the treble though, so you don't get any sort of feedback or high-end frequencies. And this is the holy grail right here. This Valhalla Supermassive plugin with a long delay, quite a bit of warp, 100% mix and 100% width, a lot of feedback, a lot of density. That is what gives these guitars their sound. They're too good. Seriously too good. Now these synthesizers are also ran through Magic 7, which have a chamber preset on them. The bass has a compressor that is sidechained to the kick. This, I'm sorry, I used a Studio VCA. It was, listen, don't ask questions around here. The piano is also ran through Magic 7 with another chamber preset on it. With the orchestra also being run through that chamber preset. I use all these buses because, as you can see, I want them to be different. Different panning, because this is all mixed in Dolby Atmos. So with these sort of mixes, you need to have everything in its own area. Of course, this all looks the same, but as you can see, some parts are more pan to the right, some parts are more pan to the left. Obviously, you don't want to put the punch or the snap in there because they're meant to stay mono. But yeah, the mastering right here, this is as simple as I can make it. So we got Dolby Atmos right here. This thing, if you're not an experienced engineer, you're not going to know what the hell you're looking at right now. But I'll play the entire song later and you'll see it here. The mixing, it looks great. Anyway, we've got ZL EQ. This is literally just some light EQ. Keeping the bass where it is, dropping that 300 Hz, increasing around 4K to 3K, and dropping this right here because there's a lot of shakers, a lot of percussion. Then we got our compressor. This is just a regular stock Logic compressor. Honestly, this is great though. Honestly, one of the best ones you can get. So after the compression, I've got a stock limiter which has 2.4 decibels of gain, stock release. This is literally just to stop those drums from punching too far through. I already have this busboy right here, but obviously you want to stop all of it, right? You can never have too many limiters. That's wrong. Don't put too many on. I'm terrible at giving advice. Anyway, after this is something that is gate kept. And I don't mean as in no one talks about it. I mean everyone talks about it. But if you don't have a Mac, if you don't have Logic, and specifically a MacBook that has an Apple Silicon chip, which is M1 or higher, you cannot access this saturation plugin right here. It's called Chroma Glow. This thing right here is honestly one of the best things that Apple have produced. This is like Sound Goodizer if Sound Goodizer was ran through Sound Goodizer. For my FL Studio users, you know what that means. Let me turn this off because this is the MIDI section. Let me turn the audio section back on. And if you're confused as to why I have both the audio and the MIDI in here, one, it was for the purpose of showing the plugins that were used to make this song, and two, it's also for the purpose of tweaking things because I already have these bounced, but if this isn't the kind of sound I want, I can just trace it back to up here, find it here, change the sound, rebounce it, chuck it back in there, keep on mixing. Now, a tip for you if you're just starting out, please do not do this, because something that beginner producers always get is they would start making a song, they would start producing it, then you get to the mixing stage, and then you do a little bit of mixing, then you add something else, then you do a little bit of mixing, then you get stuck trying to add more and more and more instruments. What you should do, if you're just starting out and you don't have that level of discipline, is create an entire new project. Do not keep your original MIDI tracks in that project. Just export them all as audio files so you have what you need to work with and you work with it. And it's either you mix it to sound good or you try and polish a turd. About that Dolby Atmos part, if I play this right here, this has a lot, and I mean a lot of Dolby Atmos. If you look at this bit right here, everything has its own sort of channel. And to kind of explain what this is, if I go to a synth instrument, let me go to the mixer and I click on this. This right here is a mixing sheet, basically. I call them mixing sheets, but panning sheets more. So this right here can tweak how high the sound goes. You can have it ear level, midway, or right at the top. This is if it's coming from in front of you, behind you, to your left, to your right, and there are so many different options you can have. Now, if you don't like having the physicality of it, you can just use these numbers right up here. It's pretty self-explanatory. But having all of these customized in their own way makes it so when you go here, when you look at the master, everything has its own space. Keep your eye on the dots around this head right here. As you can see, everything has its own space, but see how the space is being filled by every instrument in this song, and none of them are colliding. This is definitely something that if you're used to mixing and you want to get a little bit further into it and start mixing high quality Dolby Atmos sounds, definitely have this on your master track, because one, you can't bounce it without it, and two, being able to visualize where your panning actually is when you're in a room that has a speaker setup like 521 is definitely very good. And that's basically it. Same song, completely different world. The original feels like you're stuck in the past. This version feels like you've accepted it, but you're kind of thinking about it. Late night drive, windows down. And yeah, big thanks to anyone who stuck around this long, since it takes a lot of time and effort to make this kind of content while producing for other artists at the same time. Just a ton of appreciation for you lot. And if you like this kind of content, please feel free to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, because algorithms seem to despise me. I don't know why. What do I do? What have I done to you? Tell me. Can you? Yeah, they hate me. But that's how I turned last year into a West Coast type beat. Again, big thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.